And he, Ham, built a city for himself, and he named it after his wife, Naeltamauk. And Japheth saw that it was jealous of his brother, and he also built a city for himself, and named it after his wife, Adatananses. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and built a city near his father on the mountain. And he also named it after his wife, Sedekethelabab. And behold, these 3 cities were near Mount Lubar. Sedekethelabab was in front of the mountain on its east, and Naeltamauk was facing south, and Adataneses was toward the west. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, who was born 2 years after the flood, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Japheth are Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to command his grandsons with ordinances and commandments and all the judgments which he knew. And he bore witness to his sons, so that they might do justice and cover the shame of their flesh, and bless the one who created them, and honor father and mother, and each one love his neighbor, and preserve themselves from fornication and pollution, and from all injustice. For on account of these 3 the flood came upon the earth. For it was because of the fornication which the watchers, apart from the mandate of their authority, fornicated with the daughters of men, and took for themselves wives, from whom they chose, and made a beginning of impurity. And they begot sons, the Naphidim, and all of them were dissimilar, and each one ate his fellow. The giants killed the Naphil, and the Naphil killed the Elio, and the Elio mankind, and man his neighbor. And everyone sold himself in order that he might do injustice and pour out much blood. And the earth was full of injustice. And afterward they sinned against beasts and birds and everything which moves or walks upon the earth. And they poured out much blood upon the earth. And all the thoughts and desires of men were always contemplating vanity and evil. And the Lord blotted out everything from the face of the earth on account of the evil of their deeds, and on account of the blood which they poured out into the midst of the land. He blotted out everything. And we were left, I and you, my children, and everything which entered with us into the ark. And behold, I see your deeds before me, that you have not been ones who walked in righteousness, because you have begun to walk in the paths of corruption. And each one of you will be separated from his neighbor, and this one will be jealous of that one. And I see that you will not be together, O my sons, each one with his brother. For I see, and behold, the demons have begun to mislead you and your children. And now I fear for your sakes that after I die, you will pour out the blood of men upon the earth, and you will be blotted out from the surface of the earth. For all who eat the blood of man, and all who eat the blood of any flesh, will be blotted out, all of them, from the earth. And no man who eats blood or sheds the blood of man will remain upon the earth, and neither seed nor posterity will remain alive for him under heaven, for they will go down into Sheol, and into the place of judgment they will descend, and into the darkness of the depths they will all be removed with a cruel death. And let no blood from any of the blood which is in anything be seen upon you on the day when you sacrifice any beast or cattle, or what flies upon the earth. But do a good deed for yourselves by covering that which will be poured out upon the surface of the earth. And you shall not be like the one who eats with blood. But beware lest they should eat blood before you. Cover the blood, because thus I was commanded to testify to you and to your children together with all flesh. And you shall not eat living flesh, lest it be that your blood, which is your life, be sought by the hand of all flesh which eats upon the earth. For the land will not be cleansed of the blood which is poured out upon it, because by the blood of one who poured it out will the land be cleansed in all of its generations. And now, my children, hear and do justice and righteousness, so that you might be planted in righteousness on the surface of the whole earth, and your honor may be lifted up before my God, who saved me from the water of the flood. And behold, you will go and build for yourselves cities, and you will plant in them every plant which is upon the earth, and every tree, moreover, which bears fruit. For 3 years its fruit will not be gathered from everything which may be eaten, but in the 4th year its fruit will be gathered. And let one offer up the first fruits which are acceptable before the Lord Most High, who made heaven and earth and everything, so that they might offer up the juice, the first of the wine, in the juice, the first of the wine, and the oil, as the first fruits upon the altar of the Lord. who will accept it. And that which is left, the servants of the house of the Lord will eat before the altar which receives it. And in the 7th year make its release, so that you might release it in righteousness and in uprightness, so that you will be righteous, and all your plans will be upright. Because thus Enoch, the father of your father, commanded Methuselah his son, and Methuselah commanded Lamech his son, and Lamech commanded me everything which his fathers commanded him. And I am commanding you, my sons, just as Enoch commanded his son in the first Jubilees, while he was alive in his 7th generation. He commanded and bore witness to his son and his grandsons until the day of his death. And on the 29th Jubilee, in the 1st week, at its beginning, Arphaxad took a wife, and her name was Rasuiah, daughter of Susan, daughter of Elam, as a wife. And she bore a son for him in the 3rd year of that week, and he called him Cainan. And the child grew, and the father taught him writing. And he went forth in order that he might seek a place where he could build a city. And he found a writing which the ancestors engraved on stone. And he read what was in it, and transcribed it. And he sinned because of what was in it, since there was in it the teaching of the watchers, by which they used to observe the omens of the sun and the moon and the stars within all the signs of heaven. And he copied it down, but he did not tell about it, because he feared to tell Noah about it, lest he be angry with him because of it. And in the 30th Jubilee, on the 2nd week, in the 1st year, he took a wife, and her name was Milcah, daughter of Madai, son of Japheth. And in its 4th year he begot a son, and he called him Shelah, because he said, I have certainly been sent out. And in the 4th year Shelah was born, and he grew up. And he took a wife, and her name was Muach, daughter of Kesed, his father's brother, as a wife in the 31st Jubilee, in the 5th week of the 1st year. And she bore a son for him in its 5th year, and he called him Eber. And he took a wife, and her name was Azurad, daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week, in its 3rd year. And in its 6th year she bore a son for him, and he called him Peleg, because in the days when he was born the sons of Noah began dividing up the earth for themselves. Therefore he called him Peleg, and they divided it in an evil manner among themselves, and they told it to Noah. And it came to pass at the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the land in 3 parts, for Shem, Ham, and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each. In the 1st year, in the 1st week, while one of us who were sent was dwelling with him, and he called his children, and they came to him, and they their children. And he divided by lot the land which his 3 sons would possess. And they stretched out their hands, and took the document from the bosom of Noah their father. And the lot of Shem was assigned in the document as the middle of the earth, which he would take for his possession and for his sons for eternal generations, from the midst of the Rapha mountains, from the mouth of the water of the river Tinah. And his portion goes towards the west through the midst of the river, and it goes on until it draws near to the water of the abysses from which this river goes forth. And its waters pour out forth into the Ma'at Sea, and this river goes on into the great sea. And everything which is toward the north belongs to Japheth, and everything which is toward the south belongs to Shem. And his portion goes on until it draws near Carasso, which is in the bosom of the tongue which looks toward the south. And his portion goes on toward the great sea, and it goes straight until it draws near to the west of the tongue which looks toward the south, because the name of this sea is the tongue of the sea of Egypt. And it is turned from there toward the south, toward the mouth of the great sea, and on the shore of the waters. And it goes on towards the west of Afra, and it goes on until it draws near the water of the river Gihon, and towards the south of the water of Gihon, towards the shore of that river. And it goes on toward the east until it draws near to the Garden of Eden, towards its south, to the south and east of all the land of Eden, and to all of the east. And it turns in the east, and it comes forth until it draws near toward the last of the mountain, whose name is Rapha, and it goes down toward the shore of the mouth of the Tinah river. This portion was assigned by lot to Shem and to his sons to possess it forever, for his generations forever. And Noah rejoiced because this portion was assigned to Shem and for his sons. And he remembered everything which he spoke with his mouth concerning him, because he said, May the Lord God of Shem be blessed, and may the Lord dwell in the dwelling place of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden was the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of the Lord. And Mount Sinai was in the midst of the desert, and Mount Zion was in the midst of the navel of the earth. And the three of these were created as holy places, one facing the other. And he blessed the God of gods, who placed in his mouth the word of the Lord, and also the eternal God. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had reached Shem and his sons for eternal generations. All the land of Eden, all the land of the Red Sea, and all the land of the east, India, go along the Red Sea and its mountains, all of the land of Basa, all of the land of Lebanon, the islands of Caphtor, all the mountains, all of Mount Senir, Amanus, Mount Ashur, which is north, all of the land of Elam, Ashur, Babel, Susa, Media, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond Mount Asher, which is toward the north, and blessed and wide land, and everything which is in it is very good. And to Ham was assigned the second portion, towards the other side of the Gihon, towards the south, on the right of the garden, and it goes on towards the south, and it goes along all the mountains of fire, and his portion goes on towards the west, toward the Atel Sea, and it goes on westward until it draws near the Ma'uk Sea, to which nothing descends without perishing. And it goes forth in the north to the end of Gadir, and it goes forth along the edge of the water of the sea into the waters of the great sea, until it approaches the river Gihon. And it goes on along the Gihon River until it approaches the right side of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land that went forth to Ham as a portion, which he will possess forever for himself and for his children and for their generations forever. And for Japheth, the third portion was assigned beyond the Tina River toward the north of the mouth of its waters. And it goes on towards the northeast of all the region of Gog and everything east of it. And it goes on towards the north to the north. And it goes towards the mountains of Kelt towards the north, toward the Ma'uk Sea, and it comes toward the east of Gadir, up toward the edge of the water of the sea. And it goes on until it draws near to the west of Phadeg, and it returns towards Aphreg. And it goes on toward the east, toward the water of the Me'at Sea. And it goes on toward the side of the Tina River, toward the northeast and east until it approaches the end of its waters, toward Mount Rapha. And it goes around to the north. This is the land which came to Jaffa and to his sons, as the portion of his inheritance which he will possess for himself, and for his sons, for their generations forever. The 5 great islands, and a great land in the north. But it is cold, and the land of Ham is hot. But the land of Shem is not hot or cold, because it is mixed with cold and heat. And Ham divided his land among his sons, and the first portion was assigned to Cush toward the east, and west of him for Misraim, and west of him for Put, and west of him for Canaan, and towards his west was the sea. And Shem also divided among his sons, and the first portion was assigned to Elam and his sons toward the east of the Tigris River, until it approaches the east of all the land of India, along the Red Sea on its shore, the waters of Dedan, and all of the mountains of Mebri and Elam, and all the land of Susa, and everything which is beside Farnak, as far as the Red Sea and up to the Tina River. And also to Ashur was assigned the second portion, and all of the land of Ashur and Nineveh and Shinar, as far as the vicinity of India. And then it goes up and skirts the river. And to Arphaxad was assigned the third portion, and of all the land of the region of Chaldea toward the east of the Euphrates, which is near the Red Sea, and all of the waters of the desert, as far as the vicinity of the tongue of the sea which faces toward Egypt, all of the land of Lebanon and Senir, and Ammana as far as the vicinity of the Euphrates. And to Aram the fourth portion was assigned, all of the land of Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, towards the north of the Chaldeans, up to the vicinity of Mount Ashur and the land of Arara. And to Lud the fifth portion was assigned, Mount Ashur and everything pertaining to it, until it approaches the great sea, and it draws near toward the east of Ashur his brother. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance between his sons, and the first portion was assigned to Gomer, toward the east from the north side up toward the river Tina, and in the north to Magog, and was assigned all of the inner parts of the north until it approaches toward the sea of Me'at,